Good day, everyone. Welcome to lecture number 2 of Theory of Computation. And in this particular lecture, we will be discussing about the proof techniques, or we can say the different methodologies that are used to prove some statement in computation. Okay. So in our previous lecture, we briefly discussed what is the main course outline, how we are going to conduct this particular course. And as I said, the first chapter will be related to the mathematical preliminaries. So here in 2 or 3 lectures, I will be discussing the mathematical preliminaries that are required to understand this particular course. And today, as I said, we will discuss the different proof techniques that are used in mathematics, or we can say that are used in computation. Okay. So before discussing the proof techniques, first thing that we have to understand is what is a theorem. Okay. So what is a mathematical theorem? Fine. So we can say a theorem is a statement that is true, or I can write it here, a statement that is true. For example, let me say a statement, uh, if n is even, then n square is also even. Okay, so this is a statement that I am writing here. And I know that this particular statement is true. So we can say this particular statement is a theorem. So a theorem is a statement that is true. Okay. Now, to understand the proof techniques, we should first understand what is a proof. What do you understand by a proof? Okay. So we can say a proof is a mathematical argument, okay, that demonstrates why a mathematical statement is true. So a proof is a mathematical argument that demonstrates why a particular mathematical statement is true. But this mathematical argument, it should follow the rules of mathematics. Okay, it cannot use some vague rules. So we have to use mathematical rules of mathematics, and based on those rules, we have to design a mathematical argument that will demonstrate why a mathematical statement is true. So this mathematical statement is true. So this we have to prove. This is called a proof. A mathematical argument that demonstrates why a mathematical statement is true. So mathematical statement is true. Statement that is true. What is that called? That is called theorem. So we can say a mathematical argument that demonstrates why a theorem holds. Why a theorem holds following the rules of mathematics. So you can either say a mathematical argument that demonstrates why a mathematical statement is true, or you can say a mathematical argument that demonstrates why a theorem holds. So that is called a proof. And in today's particular lecture, we have to discuss different techniques that will be used to prove a particular theorem. Or we can say we have to design the mathematical arguments that will help us to prove, or that will help us to demonstrate why a particular mathematical statement is true. For example, here was one statement. Okay, if n is even, then n square is also even. Now we need a proof for this particular statement or for this particular theorem. And for a proof, we need to design a mathematical argument that will demonstrate this particular statement is true. But while designing this mathematical argument, we should follow the rules of mathematics. Okay, so as I said that in this particular lecture, we will discuss different techniques that can be used to create this particular mathematical argument. The different techniques to prove a particular statement is true is, one technique is called a direct proof. Okay, the second technique is called indirect proof. Okay, and the third technique, sometimes we say the third technique is also a part of indirect proof, but some mathematicians create a different category that is called proof by induction. Okay, so we have to discuss the technique of direct proof, the technique of indirect proof, and the technique of proof by induction. In the direct proof, when we have to prove some statement, okay, we directly start from the statement, and then from the different mathematical rules, using different mathematical rules, we reach to the conclusion. Okay, in the direct proof. In the indirect proof, to prove a particular statement, we try to prove that statement by some indirect means. I will help you to understand what is an indirect mean. So we will discuss it when we are going to discuss indirect proof. Likewise, we have proof by induction. We will discuss this also, what is proof by induction, when that particular video comes out. Okay, but in today's lecture, we will focus on this direct proof. Okay, so let's start the discussion about the direct proof technique to prove why a particular statement is true. So in the direct proof scheme, in this particular technique, we approach directly to prove a statement. Okay, so let me write some of the examples and we will see how we will approach directly to prove those particular statements. Okay, now the first thing is, let's take a first theorem, the theorem that I was discussing a few moments back, that if n is even, then n square is also even. Okay, so let's prove that statement. So let's prove this particular statement. So if n is even, then n square is also even. So what is an even number? Before discussing this, we have to discuss what is an even number. So let me write it here. So what is an even number? Even number is any number that is divisible by 2. Okay, or we can say, or a number which has 2 as a factor, which has one factor and that factor is 2. So if I have number n, okay, and if this is number is even, then I can write n as 2k plus, sorry, then I can write this particular number as 2k, where k is integer. So you can see that any number can be written like this, 2 into k, because this particular number is also divisible by 2. So any even number, so if n is even, then n can be written as 2 into k. where k is an integer. For example, let's take an example. Let's take 4. 4 is even, we can write 4 as 2 into 2. So here k is this 2. Okay, let's take any other integer, 10. 10 can be written as 2 into 5, where k is 5 and this is 2. So we can say any even integer can be written like this. And any odd integer, if this is odd, an odd integer can be written as 2k plus 1. Because we know when we divide or when we find the mod of an odd number with 2, it should be 1. Now let's do mod of 2k plus 1. What it will be? It will also be equal to 1. So any odd number can be written like this, 2k plus 1, where k is integer, and any even number can be written like this, n is equal to 2k, where k is integer. Okay, so you have to remember. Now, in this particular theorem, we are said that if n is even, then n square is also even. We have to prove this. Now, let's take this statement as true. So this particular statement is true. Let's say, let's take an integer n such that n is even. So let's take an integer n such that n is even. So since n is even, so n can be written as 2 into k, where k is some integer. Because we know that every even number can be represented in this particular format. Now let's take this, let's square from both sides. It will be n square is equal to 2k square. So 2k square will be 4k square. Or this implies n square is equal to, I can write this 4k square is equal to 2 into 2k square. I can write it. Okay, there is no issue. Now I will write this 2 into, I will replace this by some other integer r, where r is equal to 2k square. Since k is integer, so its square is also integer. And multiplying an integer with an integer is also an integer. So r is also an integer. So we can write this implies n square is equal to twice r, where r is an integer. Okay, so you can see that here n square is written as 2 into integer, and we know whenever some number is represented as 2 into r, that means that particular number is even. So from this we will imply that n square is even. Why n square is even? Because n square is equal to twice r, and if we mod twice r by 2, the remainder will be 0. So that means this particular number is even. So n square is even. So we have to prove that n square is even, and here we have proved n square is even. So this is how we have directly approached to prove this particular statement is true. So if we have this kind of statement, what kind of statement? If P, then Q. If P, then Q. That means P is here, N is even. So P is a statement, N is even. And Q is a statement, N square is also even. So that means if we have to prove this kind of statement, if P, then Q, we will first assume, P is true. So here we have assumed P is true. Let's take an integer n such that n is even. So this statement we have assumed it is true. Then we have proved this particular statement. Then Q. So assume P is true, then prove Q is also true. Okay. So to prove this kind of statement, we have to assume this is true. Then we will prove that this particular statement is also true. So this is how we directly approach a problem we directly approach a theorem to prove this particular theorem. So this here we have make a mathematical argument, and that mathematical argument has proved this particular theorem. What was the theorem? If n is even, then n square is also even. And we have also learned that whenever we have to prove a statement like this, if p then q, in the direct proof, what we have to do, we will assume P is true. So this is how we do in the direct proof. We will assume P is true, and then we will prove Q is also true. Okay. Now, for example, the second thing that you can do here, the theorem was that if n is even, then n square is also even. Now, I will give you second theorem that you have to prove by yourself. The theorem is if n is odd, then n square is also odd. So you have to prove this. If n is odd, then n square is also odd. So use the same approach and prove this particular statement. And you use the same approach, that is, you assume that P is true. So what is P here? N is odd. Then you have to prove the Q. What is Q here? N square is also odd. Okay. So this is how we approach a problem, a theorem, directly to prove the particular theorem. Okay. Now you can see that in the direct proof, we saw that if the statement is like this, if P is true, then Q is also true. So what is the approach? So the approach in the direct proof is that assume P is true, then prove Q is also true. So this is the approach that is used in the direct proof. So another category that belongs to the direct proof is the second category is called proof by exhaustion, or it is also called proof by cases. Proof by exhaustion or proof by cases. So in this particular technique, it is also a part of direct proof technique. So in this particular technique, what we are going to do, let's say, for example, we have to prove something for n. So where n is integer, let's say. Okay. So we know that if n is integer, it can be either odd or even. It cannot be anything else. So it can be odd or even, or we can say it can be positive or negative, nothing else. So it can be, so you can take this particular case, it can be odd or even, or it can be positive or negative. Okay. So if we have to prove something for n, let's say we have to prove some statement S for n. Okay. We will use different cases, or we can say different values of n. For example, we will assume, let's say n is odd. So first we will assume n is odd, then we will prove S. Okay. Then we will assume, let's say n is even. Again we will prove S. So in both the cases, n is odd and n is even. Can n be anything apart from odd and even? No, it cannot be any other value. It can be either odd or even. So we have proved for odd and we have also proved for even this particular statement. Then we can say whatever n is, S holds for the n. Okay. So in this particular thing, we are doing proof by cases, or we can say proof by exhaustion. Exhaustion means that we are checking the value of n, or checking the validity of this statement S for all values of n. Okay, for odd, for even, or we can say for positive if n is positive and if n is negative. Okay, so this is called proof by exhaustion or proof by cases. Let me explain it with the help of one example that will help us to understand this proof by cases in much better way. So let's take this particular theorem. What is the theorem? So the theorem 3 is product of any two consecutive integers is even. So what are the integers? For example, these are the integers -3, -2, -1, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So these are my integers. And this theorem is saying that if you take any two consecutive integers, so let's take any two consecutive integers. This is 2, the next is 3. Okay. Product of any two consecutive integers is even. So now let's do the product. 2 into 3 is 6. It is saying that if you take any two consecutive integers, their product will be even. For example, you can take these two integers, -3 and -2. It will be -3 into -2, that is also 6, that is even. So we have to prove this particular statement. Okay, so let's try to prove this statement. So first of all, we have to take two integers. So let's take two consecutive integers. Okay, so if the first integer is n, what will be the second integer? The second integer will be n plus 1. We know that. Okay, so if the first integer is n, then second integer is n plus 1. So we have to prove that their product. What is the product? N into n plus 1. So this particular product is given. So we have to prove. Now let's see what this n can be. This n can be, let's say, if this n is, if I have chosen n as 4. If I have chosen n as 4, what will be the next one? N plus 1, n plus 1 will be 5. However, if I have chosen n as some other number, let's say 7, what will be the next number? 8. Okay, so that means if n is odd, n plus 1 will be even. And if n is even, then n plus 1 will be odd. Okay, so these are the only possible values. So let's take the case 1. What is the case 1? Let's assume n is odd. So if n is odd, what will be n plus 1? Then n plus 1 will be even. Okay, so this is case 1. Let's assume n is odd, then n plus 1 will be even. So if n is odd, then n can be written as 2k plus 1, because every odd number can be written like this. And n plus 1 will be equal to, so n is, what is n? N is 2k plus 1. So n is 2k plus 1, and then we have plus 1. That will be equal to 2k plus 2. Now we have to prove this n into n plus 1 is even. So let's do n into n plus 1. So what is n? N is 2k plus 1 into n plus 1. What is n plus 1? N plus 1 is 2k plus 2. Okay, let's do the product. It will be 4k square plus 4k plus 2k plus 2 is equal to, I can write it like, for example, take 2 as common in all. It will be 2k square plus 2k plus 2 into 2k square plus 2k plus k plus 1. Or I can write it 2 into 2k square plus 3k plus 1. Or we can write it 2 into r, where r is equal to 2k square plus 3k plus 1 is an integer, because the operation between the integers will be an integer. So that means this implies n into n plus 1 will be equal to 2r, and we know whenever some number is represented as in this format 2 into r, that implies n into n plus 1 is even. Okay, so we have proved case one. What was the case one? Case was when saying that let's say n is odd, and when having n as odd, we proved that product of n and its consecutive integer is even. Now let's take the second case. The second case will be, let's assume n is even. Okay, so let me write the second case. So let's take case 2. So what is the second case? Let's assume n is even, then n plus 1 will be odd. Okay, so if n is even, then n can be written as 2k, and n plus 1 will be equal to 2k, so n is 2k plus 1. Okay, now we have to prove that this n into n plus 1 is even. So let's write it, n into n plus 1. So for n we will write 2k int n plus 1. N plus 1 will be 2k plus 1. So this can be, let's do the product. 2k, 2 into 2 is 4k square plus 2 into 1 is 2k. So let's take 2 as common. So in the brackets, we will have 2k square plus k. And this can be written as 2 into r, where r is equal to 2k square plus k. And this r is an integer because it is the sum and product of integers. So we have proved that n plus 1 is equal to 2r. So whenever some number is equal to twice r, then that will imply this n into n plus 1 is even. Okay, so we have proved this. So in case 1, we assumed n is odd, and we proved this particular statement, product of two consecutive integers is even. And in second case, we proved that we took that n is even, and in that particular case also we proved that product of two consecutive integers is even. So in both the cases, so using both the cases, so is there any other possible value for n? No. So we have exhausted all the values possible for this n, and for all those values we have proved that this particular statement is true. So that means this statement holds for all values of n. So this methodology or this technique is called proof by exhaustion or proof by cases. Okay, so your job is to prove another theorem, that is theorem 4, that you have to prove. And what you are going to prove is that using the same case, the proof by cases, you can prove that if a and b are integers, if a and b are integers, then b mod of a will always be less than b by 2. And in this particular theorem, assume b is greater than a. Okay, so you have to prove this particular theorem using the proof by cases or proof by exhaustion technique. So what is, if a and b are integers such that b is greater than a, then b mod of a is always less than b by 2. So you have to prove this particular statement using this technique, proof by cases or proof by exhaustion. Okay, So this completes the discussion about this particular technique, direct proof technique. So what are the two techniques? The first technique is that we will assume the particular thing is true, statement P is true, and then we will prove Q by directly approaching that particular statement or theorem. In the second technique, that was proved by exhaustion or proved by cases, we take some integer n and then prove this particular statement for all values of n, okay, for different values of n in different cases. Okay, so that is the second technique that is used in this direct proof. Okay, now let's discuss the indirect proof techniques. What are the different indirect proof techniques? So in indirect proof technique, instead of directly proving a particular statement is true or not, we indirectly prove that particular statement is true or not. Okay, so what are the different techniques that are used in indirect proof? The first technique that is used is the proof by contradiction. Okay, that is the first technique that is used to prove that a particular statement is true or not. Okay, now let's understand this particular contradiction with the help of an example. Let's say the statement is, let's say the theorem is saying if n is odd, then n square is also odd. So this is the theorem. Okay, if n is odd, then n square is also odd. And let's say we have to prove it. Okay, let's write the proof. The contradiction mechanism, this contradiction mechanism is saying that we will assume that this particular statement is true. Okay, or we can say we assume that this theorem is wrong. Then we reach to some contradiction, some mathematical invalidity, or we will reach to the operation, or we will reach to a number that is invalid in mathematics. Okay, and that will determine as that whatever we have assumed, that was wrong. Okay, what I am saying here, that if n is odd, then n square is also odd. We will assume that n is odd. Let's say we are assuming that n is odd and n square is even. Okay, what I am saying, that we will assume, let's say n is odd and n square is even. So we are assuming its opposite, the contradiction of this statement. Okay, so if n is odd and n square is even, we assume this is true. Assume n is odd and n square is even. Now, when we have assumed n is odd and n square is even, then n can be written as 2k plus 1. Why? Because if n is odd, then n can be written as 2k plus 1. Then n square will be 2k plus 1 whole square. Okay, that will be equal to 4k square plus 2 plus 1. Oh, sorry, plus 2k. Now I can write it 2 twice k square plus k plus 1. Okay, that means this implies twice r plus 1, where r is equal to 2k square plus 1 plus k, sorry, 2k square plus k, and r is an integer. So we find out that n square is equal to 2r plus 1. But we said here that n square is even. So if a number is even, it can only be written like this, 2 into r. So there should not be this plus 1. So if there is this plus 1, that means this particular number is odd. So we reached that n square is equal to 2r plus 1, but this is not possible. Why? This is not possible because we have assumed n square is even. So our assumption, this particular assumption was wrong. So that means this implies our assumption was wrong. That is, if n is odd, then n square will also be odd. So we have indirectly proved this particular theorem using proof by contradiction. Okay, this was theorem 4. Now let me clarify this again with the help of another example that you may have gone in your plus 10 or plus 10 years mathematics. So the theorem 5 is, let's say the theorem is under root 2 is irrational. Under root 2 is irrational. So let's prove this using proof by contradiction. That means an indirect proof. So we will assume, let's assume its opposite. What is the opposite of this theorem? The opposite is, let's assume under root 2 is rational. So what are rational numbers? A rational number is a number that can be represented in this particular format, p by q, and q is not equal to 0, and p comma q have no common divisor. So then that particular number is a rational number. P and Q have no common divisor and Q is not equal to 0. That is called a rational number. So for example, 4 by 6. So basically we have to write this in reduced form. Reduced form means that we have to take it to a format such that this P and Q have no common divisor. This is called a rational number. Okay, they have some more definitions, some more addition to this definition, but let's take the simple definition that a rational number is of this format P and Q, where Q is not equal to 0 and P and Q have no common divisor. Okay, so here we are assuming, let's assume under root 2 is rational. So if under root 2 is rational, that means this rational number can be represented in this particular format P by Q. So that means P by Q is equal to under root 2, where P comma Q are integers with no common divisor. Because every rational number, you have to understand the definition of a rational number. A rational number, every rational number can be written in this format where Q is not equal to 0 and P by Q have no common divisor. Okay, that particular number is called a rational number. That means, so this implies, now let's do squaring from both sides. It will be P square by Q square is equal to 2, or I can write this implies P square is equal to 2y Q square. Okay, P square is equal to 2y Q square. So here from this statement, we can write this implies P square is equal to 2y R, where R is equal to Q square. Because Q is an integer, so Q square will also be an integer. So R is an integer. So we have written P square is equal to 2y R. That means P square is even. Okay, so if P square is even, that will imply P is also even, because we have proved in the previous theorem, in theorem 1 and theorem 4, that if P is even, then P square is even. Okay, so that means if P square is even, P is also even. So if P is even, then P can be written as in this format 2k. So this implies, now let's come here, P square is equal to 2y Q square, or we can write 2y Q square is equal to P square. This implies 2y Q square is equal to P square. What is P? P is 2 of k, 2 of k whole square. This implies 2y Q square is equal to 4k square. And from this, we are implying take 2 to this side, it will be divided by. So that means q square is equal to 4k square divided by 2. This implies q square is equal to twice k square. This implies q square is equal to twice r or r1. Let's keep r1 because we have used r here. So here we have used r. Let's keep r. So r1 is equal to k square, and this is an integer. Why it is an integer? Because k is integer. So k is integer, k square will also be integer. So q square, here you can see q square is equal to twice r1. So that means q square is even. So if q square is even, that will imply q is also even. Okay, so what we have proved up to this statement? So we have proved two things. The first is, first, P is even. And then we have proved the second thing. What is the second thing? Q is even. So here we have proved P is even. And here we have proved Q is even. So we said at the beginning, P by Q is equal to under root 2, where P and Q are integers with no common divisor. But here we are saying that P is even and Q is even. So if P is even and Q is even, then it is necessary they will have at least one common divisor, and that common divisor will be 2. Okay, because every even integer has a divisor 2. So both P and Q have a common divisor, that is 2. But here we are saying that P and Q are integers with no common divisor. But here we reach to the conclusion that both P and Q, they are even. So if they are even, that means they will have one common divisor, and at least that common divisor will be 2. So we have reached to the conclusion. Sorry, contradiction. So there is a contradiction. And what is a contradiction? The contradiction is that we are reaching to a conclusion that they both are even, so that means they will have common divisor. But we are assuming that under root 2 is rational. That means they won't have any common divisor. So there is a contradiction. That means our assumption was wrong. What was our assumption? The assumption was that under root 2 is rational. So that means our assumption is wrong. So that implies under root 2 is not rational, or we can say under root 2 is irrational. So we have proved this particular theorem, that is theorem number 5, that under root 2 is irrational by using a proof by contradiction technique. So this is an indirect way of proving a particular statement is true. Okay, so this is the first technique, first indirect technique. Now let's discuss another indirect technique that is used to prove the particular statement is true but by using indirect method. The second technique is the proof by contrapositive. So before understanding this particular technique, let's see what is a contrapositive. So if we have like this, if P implies Q, so that means if this is true, this is called implication. So if P is true, then Q is true. Okay, let's say this statement is true. This particular statement is true. Then it's contrapositive. What is the contrapositive of P implies Q? The contrapositive of P implies Q will be not Q implies not P. So you can write it, if not Q, then not P. So contrapositive of this particular statement is this statement, or we can say contrapositive of this statement is this statement. Okay, so if this is true, then it is contrapositive will also be true. That is the theorem of mathematical logic. Mathematical logic. What is mathematical logic saying? That if implication is true, if implication is true, then its contra positive is also true. Okay, and if vice versa, vice versa means that if contra positive is true, then implication is also true. So we have to understand this. We will discuss this in mathematical logic. So we are going to discuss mathematical logic in our next lecture, but up to that point you have to keep this in mind. Okay, so if implication is true, then it is contra positive is also true, and vice versa. Okay, so you have to keep this particular statement in mind. So now let's discuss the proof by contra positive. What is contra positive? Saying that if we have to prove a statement like this, if P then Q. Okay, instead of proving this, we will prove it is contra positive. What will be the contra positive of this? If not Q, then not P. Now somebody will say, sir, why we are proving this instead of proving this? Because sometimes it is much easier to prove the contra positive than the actual statement. So we will prove this particular statement is true. And if this particular statement is true, then that will imply this will also be true. So this is called proof by contrapositive. So what is contrapositive technique? Saying that if you have to prove a statement like this, then instead of proving this statement, prove that it is contrapositive is true. So when it is contrapositive is true, that means this statement will also be true. Okay, so let me explain it with the help of an example. Okay, so let's take a theorem. Theorem 6. Okay, let's say we have to prove if n square is even, then n is even. Okay, if n square is even, then n is even. So let's prove this. So instead of proving this statement, let's take it as contrapositive. What is the contrapositive of this statement? The contrapositive is if n is not even, then n square is not even. So this is the contrapositive of this statement, this. So we will prove that this statement is true. So if we are able to prove that this statement is true, then that will imply that this particular statement is also true. So let's write if n is not even, we can write if n is, what is not even? Not even means odd. So if n is odd, then n square is not even. Not even means odd. So if n is odd, let's assume n is odd. So that will imply n will be equal to 2k plus 1. Okay, so now let's take n square. What is n square? N square will be 2k plus 1 whole square, and that will be equal to 4k square plus 2k plus 1. And this can be written as twice 2k square plus k plus 1, or we can write it twice r plus 1, where r is equal to 2k square plus k is an integer. So n square is equal to 2r plus 1. So this implies, so since n square is equal to 2r plus 1, that will imply n square is odd. So because every odd can be written in this particular format, so n square is odd. So we have proved that if n is odd, then n square is odd. So that means we have proved this statement. So this particular statement is true. So when this particular statement is true, it is contrapositive. The contrapositive of this statement is this statement. So that will imply if n square is even, then n is also even. Okay, so we have proved this statement in by using it as contrapositive, by proving it as contrapositive. So this was one of the simplest example we can find out here. that using this contrapositive technique, we were able to prove this particular statement. Okay, so with this, we have completed the indirect proof techniques. So we now have to discuss the another technique, that is the proof by induction, or we can say the mathematical induction. But we will discuss that in our next video, and also in that particular video, we will start the discussion about the mathematical logic. So let me summarize what we did in today's lecture. So in today's lecture, we discussed the different proof techniques. The first thing that we discuss in today's lecture is what is a theorem. Okay. Oh, sorry. What is a theorem? The second thing we discussed, what do you understand by a proof? Okay. Then the third, we started with the techniques, proof techniques. The first technique that we discussed is the direct proof. And in the deductive proof, we said that if we have to prove a statement like this, if P, then Q, what we are going to do in this technique is that we assume P is true, then prove Q is true. Okay. And the other technique in the same, so this was the first methodology. The second methodology was proof by exhaustion or proof by cases. And in that particular technique, we said that we will take an integer and we will prove the statement S for all possible values of n. Okay, so that was proved by exhaustion. Then fourth thing that we did was indirect proof technique. So in this technique, we said the first part, what we did was that the first was that we did the proof by contradiction. Okay, what does that mean? We will assume a statement that contradicts with the theorem. Okay, so we assume something that is directly opposite to what the theorem is saying. Then after that, reach to a mathematical invalidity or reach to an operation that is invalid. Then from that that will imply that the statement that we have assumed is wrong. That is the proof by contradiction. Then second technique was contrapositive, proof by contrapositive. So what it is saying, that instead of proving a statement S, prove it is contrapositive. Okay, prove that it is contrapositive is true. So if you have proved that it is contrapositive is true, that means that statement is also true. Now I have to give one or two questions to you that you should do at your home. So for example, the first question is, if A is subset of B and B is subset of A, then A is equal to B. So this is the one theorem that you have to prove. Second is, if A union B is subset of A intersection B, then A is equal to B. Okay, so A is subset of B and B is subset of A, then A is equal to B. If A union B is subset of A intersection B, then A is equal to B. You have to prove these two statements. So you can use a direct proof technique or proof by exhaustion or indirect proof technique. But it is my suggestion that you should try out all these different proof techniques to prove these different statements. So in our next lecture, we are going to discuss the another proof technique, that is mathematical induction. That will be the focus of our next lecture, mathematical induction, or we can say proof by induction. And also in that particular lecture, we will start the discussion about the mathematical logic, or we can say we will discuss the first order logic. So let's meet in the lecture third. Till then, goodbye.